Prairie Mobile text line regarding Williams and Ree being in trouble for racist comments they made on stage at Country Thunder the other night. I am not comfortable even repeating what they said. Watch the CTV News because they had it this morning. There's an uproar over that. The guys that bill themselves as the Indian and the white guy are in trouble for racist comments. Anonymous texter writing in and says, I don't understand the uproar. It's a comedy act. If you don't like it, don't watch or listen. If you do like it, take it in. Tired of the world getting so soft and sensitive. So I guess it's a personal opinion. Williams and Ree are set, I saw this morning on CTV Live, to perform at the next Country Thunder in Wisconsin next week. So I don't think they're losing their gig over it.
Wow, but, I don't think this is the first time that's happened either.
It's been going on for like 35 years.
We're hearing a couple times about that.
So Braden Moscoe's here, who's recovering from Craven. So you didn't see Williams and Ree on the main stage? Is that what you're telling me?
I did not make it to Williams and Ree.
Did you make it to the main stage at all?
I did. I made it for, I didn't get Tim McGraw.
Nobody did.
Right. My plan was to go out Saturday, responsible plan, just a quick day in and out, and then Tim gets canceled. So now they're, my pass is being honored for Sunday. So naturally, I stay for Sunday as well. So I caught Chris Stapleton and made my way home on Sunday night.
It always starts so innocently.
Speaking from experience over there.
Go out for one or two beers, a nice Tim McGraw show, maybe find a nice young lady for a dance, twirl her around on the floor, and call her a night.
Just head home.
And next thing I know, I'm still there Sunday night.
And Monday.
And, Monday morning.
What was it? Was it hard to get out of there?
No, actually, I had some meetings Monday morning, so I actually got out there right as Chris Stapleton ended.
Oh, yeah.
So, I had no issues, and I beat the storm on Sunday night. So, what a place.
Obviously, you're here to talk curling. Before we get into any of that, for one, producer Clark and I were having an argument before the show in our pre-show meeting. I say Moscoe, he says Moscowie. Clearly, he is a South Regina thing. He did work in Estevan for a while, where they say Moscowie, south of Regina. But what is it?
Yeah, it's there's kind of two sides to the family, and the south side calls it Moscowie. The north side, I guess, calls it Moscowie. So,
and you are the north side.
I'm an NOD guy. Yeah, Usher boy. So
there we go.
I'm Moscowie.
It's Moscowie. It's like Corrine and Corinne, right, Duke? Depends on which side you're from.
I call it Corinne.
It's Corrine.
Yeah.
Trust me, it's Corrine.
Hey, you live closer to it than me.
Yeah, exactly.
It was the place that you turned to go to Moose Jaw. Just after that, you went to Moose Jaw.
Or to Long Creek.
Well, that was the problem. One time we were going to the Moose Jaw Wild Animal Park, but we turned at the Redgeway turn.
One day I'll tell you a story about my brother's summer job at the Moose Jaw Wild Animal Park, where he was hosing down the gorilla cages, and a gorilla reached through the bars and grabbed him by the head and pulled him against it, started rattling his head against it. That happened. And he's listening this morning because he's been texting me.
I assume that place had a lot of stories.
I can't even imagine. Anyways, Braden, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Yeah. It's been a couple months off now from the curling thing, which is nice and definitely was needed. And now we're kind of starting to gear back up and get ready to go again.
How was your season?
I would say, I guess if I had to grade it, I would probably give it like a B+, A-. Obviously, we didn't get to the Brier, which was a big goal of ours. But outside of that, we had a pretty great year, actually. I think we were 5th or 6th on the money list. So being a new team and a young team especially, we were pretty happy with that. And we got to do some pretty cool things. We headed over to Sweden once, and we were in China twice. So, it was definitely, I would say it probably exceeded our expectations, minus the fact of not getting to the Brier, obviously.
So this team's together again this year?
Yeah, we're back together. We've committed to the next 3 years towards the Olympic run, which is exciting, and the Olympic trials are actually in Saskatoon, which makes it even more sweet. So, we're committed to that, and now we're just kind of working on putting the finishing touches on, I guess, a bit of a rough product, being it was our first year together.
When it comes to curling in Saskatchewan, I mean, we always bring up 1980 Rick Folk, yada yada. But with your team, with you and Maddie, and the Myers boys, it seems like there's a reason for curling fans to be excited about the men's scene in this province. You guys obviously representing Canada. You had a great run here at the Brier when it was here in Saskatchewan. Do you feel like there's a little bit of that homegrown excitement around the curling scene on the men's side?
Yeah, I think so. It's actually funny. I remember thinking back to last summer when we were putting our team together. Kirk Myers was putting his team together. We were actually texting back and forth a little bit about possibly playing together, whatnot, and that didn't work out, and we kind of formed our two separate teams, and we were talking about being excited about having two younger teams that are going to take it as professionals, commit their time to it, and the fact that we could kind of push each other and build off of that was exciting, because you need that. I think as good a run as Steve Laycock's team had, it kind of ran into maybe a little bit of they were just happy. They were going to the Briar every year. They really didn't have any competition in the province.
Right.
So
Tough to raise your game.
it is, where I look at ourselves in Manitoba the last 4 years, we had McEwen right there, right? So it was always pushing you to be better, and we were lucky enough to get to two Briars, and they went to two. And but I think you need that kind of in-province rivalry almost, just to keep you going, especially over 4 years. It's a long time, We're playing 100 games a year, so it kind of drags on at certain points. So having that team there to push you, and especially in our case, they beat us in the provincial final. So I think we're, that could, as much as that sucked, probably the best thing that could have happened to us. Because as far as the first year team went, everything came pretty easy for us. We started maybe ranked 25th in the world, and all of a sudden we were in the top 10 pretty quickly, and into all the slams and all the big events. And maybe we didn't quite put as much work in as we should have. We were just out there playing a lot, which we had to do a bit because we weren't in that top 15 at the start. And that's what gets you into the Grand Slams and all those big events. So, that sucked not going to the Briar.
But as far as not winning the Tankard, when you hatched this plan, when you were telling me at Evolution Fitness, it kind of went according to plan, aside from winning the Tankard.
Yeah.
Right? It couldn't have gone much better.
No, honestly, it really couldn't have. Like I said, being a first-year team, you throw four guys together. It's not like other sports where you have tryouts. You can try different things. Like you throw it together, it looks good on paper, and then it's boom right into the season. And you can't really make changes. Like what you've got is what you've got. And so when you put these teams together, you get four guys that are talented, first of all, hopefully, and then guys that you can get along with too, right? I see these guys and talk to these guys more than my own family and my own friends, right? So that's a huge part of it too. So, you kind of throw it together. Hopefully you throw it at the wall. Hopefully it sticks. And in our case, it did. And the provincial final is an interesting game, right? Like all other sports, I still consider the Patriots, when they were undefeated there and lost to the Giants, one of the greatest teams of all time. And they lost the final, right? Not saying that we're one of the greatest teams of all time, but when it comes down to one game, anything can happen. So as easy as it is to be disappointed about that, you kind of got to throw that aside and look at the big picture.
Oh, look how
year.
old the Patriots of curling are. The Cooey team. Sorry, Meat, who's probably watching this morning.
That team came together here at the World Championship.
Yeah, I'm just saying that you guys got a lot of runway here before you will challenge, and maybe you'll challenge this year. If you win the Tankard, you'll go to the Briar, and you will have a shot. But as far as the support, a couple things on that. How was it to curl at home for the first time?
Yeah, it was
Since
awesome.
you were a junior, I mean.
Yeah, no, it was awesome, and I missed that definitely the last 4 years playing in Manitoba, and especially I think it really hit me playing the Briar here in Regina and hearing all the cheers. Like we had great support just from me being from Regina, but just hearing all the cheers for Saskatchewan, I couldn't help but think, how sweet that would be to be Saskatchewan playing in Regina at the Brand Center, But you know what? Now, hopefully, if things go well, we've got the opportunity to do that in Saskatoon at the trials in a few years.
Right. So it's nice to be home, obviously, and how happy was your family for you to be home? So happy.
Yeah.
How was the support? Because you were looking at drumming up corporate support, right? Because you were in the top 10, you delivered a lot for your sponsors. How did that all go?
Yeah, that went great. We were lucky enough. And again, it's another one of those things when you have a first-year team, you don't have the numbers. You can't say, hey, look, we were on TV for 30 hours last year. Here's our social media numbers, because you don't have that yet, right? So we're lucky enough that our corporate partners kind of took a leap of faith with us, and now we're kind of working on signing them to longer term deals. Right now, we can show them, hey, look, we were on we were on Sportsnet and TSN for over 25 hours last year. If you wanted to advertise on those two channels for 25 hours, that's millions of dollars of advertising, right? And then not just that, our social media following has been great, and that allows our partners to reach a whole new audience that they didn't really have access to before, right? So yeah, we were very lucky that way, and hopefully we can maintain that relationship, and that's kind of what the summer is for us. Is we're working on those deals, re-signing those companies, as well as getting everything set up for this upcoming year.
So Hebert came in here with the Tankard Trophy.
Yeah, I was actually with him the night before at Leopold's Tavern, and all the boys were drinking out of the Briar Tankard.
The Briar Tankard,
so
yeah.
I kept my hands off.
You didn't touch?
No, I didn't touch it. I looked at it a bit, checked it out. I've seen it before. It's an amazing trophy.
It's huge.
It's massive. And the boys were definitely having some fun figuring out how many pints could fit in there at Leo's. So.
9.
I think that's right. I think it might have been big. Like, it was Tuesday. It was Corona night there, so it might have been 9 big Coronas too. I can't remember for sure, but
They drank them all. That's what I know. But
Yeah.
my point is,
Yeah.
for one, before we even were on the air with his show, Meat, being Ben Hebert, said, I'm bringing the Tankard in there on this day. And once he got here, he said, it's for social media. It's for my sponsors. He goes, I know what you guys are going to do with this show. So there was a little behind. Benny's not stupid.
No.
And secondly,
Don't tell him that. Don't publicly tell him that.
Benny's stupid. You know that, right?
I know that well.
Yeah. Producer Clark writes me on my prompter and says, he's right. Ben Hebert was here and talked about being the best sweeper in curling. Who would you consider the best shooter in curling? That's Clark's question.
Yeah, I have a few. I think Mark Kennedy obviously stands out. It doesn't matter. I think overall, just well-rounded player, combination of sweeping, shooting, just everything. Mark's, as far as I'm concerned, probably the best. I also think John Morris, when they were in their run there with Kevin Martin, with Ben and Mark, he was there. And then a guy I've always just been amazed with is Wayne Madaw. I don't know if you heard what Brooks Koepka said yesterday about at the British Open.
Unbelievable.
So Brooks basically said, why do you do well in majors and not in regular events? He's like, well, I practice for majors. When you see me in regular events on TV, that's when I golf. I don't golf otherwise. So Wayne Madaw was a bit like that too. Like,
People didn't like Wayne Madaw,
no,
right?
No, and
Wayne likes his Caesars.
I love Wayner, and yeah, he's a big Caesar guy if you follow him on social media.
Crazy.
But he always said in the round robin of whether it was Briar or Slams, that's your time to practice, is the round robin to get ready
Oh, wow.
for the playoffs, right? But I mean,
If we could all be that fortunate.
exactly, right? Most of us are just out there grinding, trying to get into the playoffs, and he's using it as practice.
So he's the Phil Mickelson,
Yeah.
maybe of curling. Benny Hebert, the Tiger Woods of curling.
Yeah.
And I mean on the playing surface, not off, as
Well,
Benny knows.
especially the way he curses.
Self-proclaimed, yeah.
Curling's seen a number of rule changes, tweaks, things like that to make it, I think, more for the fan, which I always engage. 5 rock rule, the thinking time as opposed to the regular time. What else needs to go? This is why I love getting you and Benny, guys like that in here. You have ideas and you're not afraid to state them. Is there anything else, or is the game for right now in a really good spot when it comes to that?
Yeah, it's in a great spot with the 5 rock rule being introduced now. I think, as in any sport, it just evolves. The athletes get better and better. The ice conditions better. The rocks better. The sweeping better. So that's made the game a lot more exciting. I personally would like to see the tick rule modified a bit. In
what way?
There's lots of guys who are using it in like the first, second, third end, basically to just keep it open, make the game boring as far as I'm concerned, keep it simple sort of thing. So I'd like to see it banned. I don't want to see it taken away completely, because I feel like if you get into a position later in the game where you're winning, you should be able to use it to your advantage. I don't think you should be penalized for that. So I would just like to see it taken away, maybe the first half of the game. So you can't use any rock that's touching the center line. If you bump it off the center line, your rock's gone, is what I would like to do. We kind of experimented a bit with it at the last 2 Grand Slams of the year, where no tick rule. And it just makes the game a bit more exciting later. right now, if you're a top 10 team in Canada and you have the hammer tied up coming home, you're winning over 90% of the time. So,
For the uninitiated, can you explain the tick rule?
Yeah, so basically what the objective of it and what the point of it is it's a rock on the center line, and with the 5 rock rule, you can't remove any of the first 5 rocks. So what teams are doing is they're just playing a little softer weight, bumping into a quarter of the rock, and pushing them both kind of out of the way and keeping them in play. So it just opens up the middle, and essentially what it does is it gives your skip a pretty easy shot to win the game. Some sort of open hit or draw to maybe the 8 foot, which the best skips in the game aren't rarely ever going to.
The first time I really saw it come into play and noticed it was when Rachel Holman was on a real run, and it was Lisa Weigel. She was a master at it, and I mean, the players are so good. It seems like a difficult shot, but I mean, the leads are so good out there now. I mean, it's becoming routine for them to play that shot.
Yeah, like back in the day, the leads used to be hackers, to be completely honest, right? They're probably big, strong guys.
Lead, yeah.
But now these guys, like,
it's a specialty.
As Benny likes to tell everyone, he could easily skip a team. I'm sure he's told you, right? So, no, these leads are good players. Like, most of them could play other positions, right? Mm-hmm. And with the ice conditions, the sweeping, how good the leads are, they're making these ticks at a very high percentage, and early on in the game, I find it just kind of makes the game a bit more boring.
Would you? A lot of the slam events are 8 ends. Would you go to 8 ends, or do you like 10 ends? Kind of, like a grand slam in tennis where they go to the 5 sets.
I'm getting older now, so
8's okay.
Eight's okay with me. Yeah, I like 8 personally. If you give the teams a decent practice to start the game, everyone's ready to go right out of the gates. You know the ice, so it's like, boom, let's go. Mm-hmm. I also think it fits better for TV.
Right.
That 2-hour kind of time slot versus the 3-hour. So I would prefer 8. I think that's enough. But it's fine how it is with just kind of the majors being 10 ends. But hopefully they bump it down to 8 in the future.
Curling author Guy Scholes is watching from Kipling this morning. He says Braden's 2011 Canadian Junior win in Calgary was a great week of curling and a classic final. Undefeated, I believe, and all the green in the stands was pretty cool, too. And speaking of the green, Braden, you are a Rider fan. What is your take on the green and white here as we sit here in mid-July 2019?
Well, boys, I got to be honest with you. I haven't watched too much. I watched that Fajardo kid a little bit. Looks great. I kind of, to be completely honest with you, from my perspective, this league, I'm sure I'm not the only one, it's such a quarterback-driven league, right? And so is the NFL. If you don't have one of the studs, like, you can almost write off the season at the start, is the way it seems. So this Fajardo looks like he could maybe be one of those guys. I'm no expert, but which is exciting, I think. But I was kind of disappointed, and I don't know all the workings of it. But, when we didn't get one of those big guys in free agency, it's kind of like it's going to be, we're going to be tough slugging here.
That's the pinch.
Year, right?
Sucking the hind teat, I think.
That's the pinch that they're in. It is still early, but this game Saturday night is monumental. Are you going?
I will not be going.
What do you got going on?
Recovering from Craven still.
You must have really gone hard, man.
Far away.
Either that or you're getting old. You're literally the face app. You're feeling it today.
Well, I know. I was testing it out yesterday, and I was like, oh, there's not much difference. I mean, Monday after Craven or in 50 years. So, no, I like to go to, I spend a lot of time out at Katepwa in the summer, so I like to get out there for Rider games, especially because there's no one out there. So it's pretty nice and peaceful, and we don't have long before our season starts. So I'm kind of just
resting.
Chilling. Yeah,
you should be.
Just relaxing and enjoying these. I got, I think, 3 or 4 more weekends.
Well, especially if Craven took a lot of years off your life. You do need the rest time. But I'll tell you this, after 20 seasons as voice of the Riders and now not, I'm learning how to live a new way, and I enjoy it. And not going to Craven now, this is the 5th year that I've missed after tearing that up for 25 years. I'm like, I like being in the city Craven weekend. We have the whole city to ourselves.
It's fantastic.
Everything's dead. It's great.
Before we get out of here, we'd be remiss. couple of big events coming to Saskatchewan this year on the curling calendar. Maybe just give people a quick rundown. I think is it the Cup is back? What do they got going on here? Slam events.
The biggest one we've got is actually one of my favorite events to play is in Yorkton for the Grand Slam. I believe it's
Grand Slam,
in
sorry, yeah.
December, if I'm not December or January. But it's the Canadian Open. It's the Grand Slam, so it's the top 15 men's and 15 women's teams in the world are there, and
it's usually jammed in Yorkton too.
It's absolutely jammed, sold out every draw. Doesn't matter if it's 8 a.m. or 7 p.m.
Yep.
It's fantastic, and that is when I was playing with Carruthers out of Manitoba, that was my favorite event every year. So they went away from Yorkton for the last 2 years, I think, and now they're coming back this year. Good. So I'm so pumped for that. Anytime we get to play in Sask, it's awesome, right? We have the support's unbelievable. The stands are always filled. So yeah, that'll definitely be one we have highlighted on our schedule this year, and then we have the provincial championship in Melville, which
men's and women's.
they're running both kind of at the same time ish,
Yeah.
or they intertwine a little bit this year, which they've never
exciting.
done before. So that'll be cool. When we get there, we'll have a bit of insight on the ice and the rocks and everything, because the gals have just played or are still playing, I guess. So that'll be unique, and that's obviously one that we're really focused on this year, and hopefully get a bit of redemption and get to the Brier, which is our ultimate goal. We want to be those guys that get to walk down those stairs at the Regina Airport with the Tankard trophy. So that's our ultimate goal, and that's what we're working on. We're heading out to Toronto in a couple weeks here to practice and watch those pitiful Blue Jays of mine play a couple games maybe. So
That'll be fun too.
Hey, they got a big win yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. So
And the Scotties coming up in Moose Jaw too, which
Right.
we're going to be all over with this program and sponsorship there and so forth. So yeah, it's good
Great.
times curling in Saskatchewan. Braden, continued success. I knew you'd kill it here, and
Thank you.
don't be a stranger.
for sure. Thanks for having me.
You're watching Rod Peterson On Demand. For more of The Rod Peterson Show, visit rodpeterson.com or follow Rod Peterson on social media.